Yo soy tu padre. Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin on, let's see, Monday and Tuesday I was at work. Wednesday, that was yesterday, so today is Thursday, June 21st, second day of VidCon 2018. I am in Anaheim, California, on the balcony of my hotel room facing the convention center, where the Hilton, where the VidCon conference is occurring, part indoor, part outdoor. This is the terrifying Ferris wheel that I went on with my daughter yesterday. And let me tell you, I've been on Ferris wheels all my life, and I really enjoy them, but this thing is terrifying. This is like a tiny little carny one, and I ain't going on it again. And my daughter thinks I'm a coward, and I don't like that, but I ain't going on that thing. So, you know, this conference is going to be formative for us. I mean, you know, it's 6 a.m. I'm clearly still on East Coast time, so I have an advantage, I think, because it's, you know, easy to wake up early, and I'm already an early riser thanks to my 3 cats, who I had put some considerable time and energy into finding a cat sitter for, and a house sitter at my place, at this phenomenal place I live called Irby, which, you know, it's just a freakish thing. I'm going to do separate videos about Irby. It's time to bring my personal life into this stuff a bit, because transitions, and this is a transition. And in that transition, I knew that I would be supporting my child's interests, among which happens to be YouTube. Okay, so as an SEO, a search engine optimizer, I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube. For 15 years or so, I've managed to keep myself what you'd call a traditional technical search engine optimizer. I tweak pages to get them to perform better on whatever keywords people are searching in Google that should be leading to them. Simple as that. And that was a Star Trek anomaly. Like, you know, it was a brief time in history when, in marketing, what you knew, you know, how well you could think through things, processes, analysis, your powers of observation, your producing of algorithms, could outperform and outmarket and have more influence than the who you know crowd, who pay their way in by what they already have for more of influence over the people. And that's the traditional way humanity just works, because Zipf curve, Pareto curve, wealth distribution, normal distribution, the long tail, idealized markets, all this stuff is the same concept, which is humans have a really bad edge to them. And that means that those bad people, or those people who are willing to do whatever it takes, and be they good people, can always achieve to a level that is almost infinitely greater than those who are not willing to put in that kind of work. So I'm one of those people who is not willing to put in that kind of work. I have dodged obsession time and time again. When Doom came out, the first-person shooter stuff, I didn't touch it. I got friends who can testify that I personally boycotted the Quake LAN parties that they would do at the office. I mean, I was part of that generation. I was part of the generation before that was on their, you know, Commodore 64s. And, you know, I even remember the Atari 2600, the VCS that started it all as far as the digital world for us here in the United States. Before that, Pong maybe, Space Invaders in the arcade, which is the another version of the Atari line, which we're being introduced to in our home. So these Atari chips and this Atari software, and that was a cool early tradition. Cool hardware, cool systems, tightly regulated. It was not in the free and open source world at all. Yet it became a computer that I fell in love with. The Amiga computer from Commodore was part of the Atari lineage of computers. And that's really where my heart belongs. When you ask, who is this guy? Who is there? This came out in 1977, I want to say. I must have been either 6 or 7. And I tend to believe I was on the younger side because Star Wars did not really imprint on me as many of our generation. And the staggering of when I was born and where I was born has always kept me from being exactly at the peak of those popular curves that make billionaires or, at least, passionate leaders of some movement like Free and Open Source and the Guido van Rossums and the Linus Torvalds of the world, who are the real heroes, who are making sort of the foundations, the blocks on which everyone is basing everything these days. I mean, there's other lineages that maybe more rightfully deserve that spotlight. I would say Lisp hardware, Lisp software, Lisp everything, which is part of a more MIT hacker bad boy tradition than is the Unix and Linux that took over the world. Unix and Linux is from a tradition of bad boy internal employee saboteurs of Multics in this case. So a lot of times you got these heroes who have the knowings, the serious knowings and the doings of things. Let me tell you, these are not lightweight guys. They're in their positions at companies like AT&T and Bell Labs because they're the best of the best of the best, and they've been recruited in competition with companies like IBM, who had been doing the same type of thing for many years to have pure research going on in their own companies. So they had these little, Xerox Parks and, IBM Dreamlands, whatever. Every company had private scientists, and it was a crazy day. It was a comic book era. We recently won a comic book, symbolically rich war. I mean, the symbol of the bad guys during World War II, and the symbols of the good guys, and the subtle levels of the battles back and forth, where the atomic bomb officially maybe closed the war, but the until recently classified Turing Enigma code-breaking machine, Christopher, or whatever you want to call it, the BOMBE in British typical understatement, arguably won the war in a more real way than the atomic bomb, because it let us decrypt the bad guys' signals going back and forth, which were encrypted, hence the rapid rise of computers, 1950, 1960. Oh my God, superpowers contained in building-size computers, the UNIVAC, the ENIAC, and this whole tradition of things that shrank down and became our desktop computers. One way of thinking about things. Not always the best, but the best of what has been offered thus far is Unix, because of a zillion reasons that I'm not going to waste time on a video that probably VidCon people are going to be watching. I'll explain this stuff in other videos, but Unix set in like the pea in the pool. It's not coming out, and of tech, that is. And Linux followed on, riding its coattails with more freedom, more anything goes attitude, more liberal licenses. And that was 1970 that Unix was born. And it was in the 90s when the Linux, clone was born. And I, by the way, was born in 1970, so I'm at the same age as Unix. That's where I fit into this whole picture. So let's see, I'll just do like this for finishing out the story. I'll try to wrap it up. I know I'm coming up on 10 minutes. So, long story short, my heart belongs to the Amiga computer. My heart's been broken by tech time and time again. I have managed to successfully self-sabotage and dodged success by most logical standards long enough to enjoy life as the Shaggy Man. Now I have a daughter. We're at VidCon2018 here in Anaheim, California, United States. Machine learning, tag this, whatever, however, in the future, because I don't edit. Okay, so me on YouTube, WTF? Well, I'm an SEO and I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube, and I feel it is my duty to toss out a 1,000,000 view video there every once in a while, just to, keep, a horse in the race, to keep a foot in the game, whatever you want to call it. And we're full of metaphors and we're not scared to mix them. So we're SEOs, and we need to be, we need to walk the walk to talk the talk, because there's too many bullshitters in my industry. I'm always trying to walk the walk, even if I'm an idiot on a tightrope. You rig conditions so you don't get killed. I had one 1,000,000 view video on being the first to unbox the Raspberry Pi, $35 computers back when that was a big deal, 2012. I had the help of Tanya Nam, a dear friend over the years, who I collaborate with sometimes on ideas and stuff on what I'm doing. And she has convinced me that just be me. Don't, chase that Jeff Bezos could have been dream. It's not me. It wasn't meant for me. I'd be a prisoner of my own success. People like Alan Alda are known to have made statements like, if you can choose between being rich and being famous, take rich. You don't need to be famous. It's not what you think. You become a more restricted person. You become paranoid because nobody you knew from the point after you became famous can be trusted anymore. You have a permissions problem. If you stepped back and looked at it as like a systems analyst, you would go, oh my God, so the timing of becoming famous is extremely important in the overall arch of happiness and success. Shaggy Man. That's me. I don't give a Honey Badger don't care. Another new dear friend of mine, who became that way in the most rapid time sequence I may have ever experienced, has introduced me to Honey Badger Don't Care. So Google that or YouTube that. And it very, very, very much reflects the spirit of my daughter, much more so than me. I am not Honey Badger. I am 2 out of 3. I am, I like to think intelligence, and I also like to think heart. And I haven't worked my way through courage, but I am on that journey. And this is Oz. I mean, do not kid yourself. Oz is not a fairyland. Oz is an invented land, an invented virtual reality, just happened to be written in the past, 100 years ago, whatever that was that Oz was written. Everyone thinks it's an Alice in Wonderland cop-off, but I guess maybe it is, because Alice in Wonderland is exactly the same thing in how it talks about quantum physics and probabilities and, the characters you'll meet, the attributes of particles. I mean, I'm telling you, everything is the same, and much of it was put into Alice in Wonderland first, up to Through the Looking Glass. 2 books, make sure you know the both of them, and The Wizard of Oz, and I believe that is 13 books, and don't let anyone tell you that after the first book it trails off. It does not. This is Robin Williams, Albert Einstein level emoting of how life works, what's important, the emotions of particle physics that manifests itself up here on the human level, which does not belittle who we are and what we can do. It just means that the landscape is as rich on our level as we are comprised of number of particles, which to all counting purposes is infinite. Life is infinitely more interesting, rich, and complex than the simple particle physics that can be easily stated through laws of attraction and repulsion and finding the balances and then spinning them around each other and getting strange attractor orbits, not just mere rotations of things around each other, but lots of things interacting, and of the infinite ways those things fade away and everything goes in their all different directions and decorporates, loses coherence. When the 1 in a trillion times those things can start swirling around each other, sometimes going into seeming chaos and then pulling back tight to a tight center, you got to ask yourself, how does that work? What are the odds? And you start struggling with those same issues that scientists have all the time of anthropomorphizing things and the anthropic principle of the world, whether, things are beautiful for us or we see beauty through pure randomness, which has really nothing special about it. So I ain't going to answer all those big questions, but all these different paths in life, all these different worldviews as stated through Alice in Wonderland and the Wizard of Oz, sort of culminate together into the same set of questions, and you keep coming back to the same strong centers, and you realize that these 1 in a trillion strange attractor orbiting systems that become stable and become things like us here on planet Earth are indeed rare and precious and should be appreciated, because life might only be 70 to 90 years long, and we each gotta do our whatevers, and what we are during those whatevers are questions that might not actually be time best spent. You should maybe just start thinking about life and the things that are going to make you famous and make money by being famous, because even though Alan Alda had that statement, what he failed to see is that you need to be uncompressible. Who you are and the interests you have and the way you go about pursuing them and framing them and stating them to the world is what you are. And it's the rare thing when someone can just start talking and make that their video. No editing necessary. Linearity, strong, linear storytelling, not really required, because the more organic approach seems to always sort of win in the end. Just follow the patterns you see, look for circles and lines, and just see where that leads you. And live in the moment, people. Live in the moment. That's my advice. So I'm here at VidCon 2018, and if you see me walking around with my daughter, stop and introduce yourself. She likes to think Daddy's a million sub kind of guy. Daddy's not a million sub kind of guy. Daddy's a million view sort of guy. Every once in a while, take off, look at my video where I just take off my finger at the 360i office, and you'll see, I don't try very hard. I sometimes don't even talk in my videos, and I don't really care. The last bunch of videos are just light experiments. So if you like me, sub, great. If not, hope you got to some of my video, because I don't know. Actually, maybe I don't care. I struggle with that. Do I even care if I have an audience or not, or am I just keeping my foot in the game because I'm an SEO? Let's talk about it over beers or something. But it's always got to be kid friendly. Any things I do out at night, I'm going to be chaperoned by my 7-year-old child, so we'll hop in my Mustang convertible and we'll go out and we'll find something to do in Anaheim, something kid friendly. I saw a kid buffet that looked really fun near the Disney property, and I'm definitely going on the Disney day, so maybe I'll hang with some of you then. So I try not to be too pushy, but some of you is my kids' heroes, and I made sure she's going to meet them. And anything else, I have no. We haven't even written out what we're going to do. I'm going to ask, where should we be for people of our interest, and let people guide us. So be one of those people that guides us. Well, thanks for joining me. Hope to see you around VidCon, and that's all. Have a great day.